Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's episode of the Hearts and Men podcast, sponsored by the Empowered Perspective community. We are your hosts for this evening, and as you can see, we have a full house. And trust me, I am so excited because these gentlemen bring the fire. Like I said, I'm just here. They do all the heavy lifting. So, with that being said, welcome to this evening show. I just want to make sure that I acknowledge everybody in the chat. Again, if this is your first time, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, share, and hit the like, and go ahead and leave a message. We look forward to hearing everything that you guys have to say. Ask questions. Go ahead and share your perspective, and we like acknowledging. So again, welcome Michelle Wade, welcome Cassandra, welcome everybody that's out there that have not spoken yet. We look forward to hearing from you, and again, welcome to all of our veterans and everybody who's worked hard all week. Gentlemen, how are you?
I am sore. I am not gonna lie to you. I am sore, but I'm well.
There you go.
Man, I'm sore. I'm not sore. I feel good. I was sore earlier during the week, but I'm good now.
What y'all sore from?
You know,
I be working out, bro. I changed up the
Yeah,
routine. I'm starting to hit these burpees again. So
Oh,
I hate
definitely,
cover
burpees.
ups
I
and stuff,
promise I
man.
hate
definitely,
burpees.
good
Yeah, I
enough.
hate burpees so good.
I had to change the tire last night.
So you saw from changing the tire.
Your
Hey,
knees,
oh, I ain't got no peanut butter. Any excuse?
knees.
There you go. I got you. I got you. Son of Timothy, how are you, brother?
Man, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm just glad to be with you, brothers.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to always have you. Listen, again, to everybody who is out there in the chats, man, shout out to people in the chat, man. We love you guys. You guys are awesome, and you guys add so much value to our show. So, again, if this is your first time joining us, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and share it in the likes as well. And go ahead and announce yourself in the chat. We want to acknowledge you and acknowledge your presence because you could be any place else but here this evening. And we want to show our appreciation doing another one of these exciting conversations. That being said, gentlemen, this is the topic for this evening. Now, how do we start losing weight? And for those people who came here looking for us to give you some weight loss tips, don't worry, we got you. But y'all know us. We'd like to add a little complexity to the conversation. And trust me when I tell you that these gentlemen will do just that. So, knowing me, I like the baseline understanding, and we're going to go with, because if you look in the dictionary, it's a bunch of definitions, but we're just going to keep it simple. Burden of pressure. But trust me, we're going to talk about the other side of it as well. So, as we get started, gentlemen, I want to start off by talking about, of course, reflection. What has weight looked like for you throughout the course of your entire life? I don't care how far back you go. So, the floor is open, gentlemen. Take it away.
I jump out there first, man. So to try to hit both parts and move out the way, you know, for life, weight has looked like a lot for me because growing up, there was a lot we had to deal with, from starting from when my parents split to when we were moving in and out of shelters to when we, were sleeping in the trains, singing on the trains for our mama so we can make some money so we could eat for the night, you know. And there's so much that I can go through to really talk about the weight and the baggage that I drug into my adulthood life and that has affected, my friendships early on, my relationships early on, uh, my ability just to coexist, you know.
Mm.
Um, and that and a lot of us have a story, and if I try to tell it all, you kick me off the show. So you know, to save time. But then in my adulthood life, growing up, I was always active. So I was always small and strong. I was able to, to work out and keep weight off, keep fat off, and then uh,
Rabbit ears must have went out.
Oh
ties
shoot.
together. What happened?
I don't know, man. You pulled a trick on us. That was awesome,
Nah,
though.
All
nah,
right, we back.
nah. But but it was something about life that just made it a little harder. I got complacent with being able to bounce back into shape quick. That I on the and I'm talking now on the physical side to where by the time I was 32, I was diagnosed as a diabetic. hyperglycemic and hypertension. But I got that hypertension under wraps quick, you know. But now it's just a everyday battle to do the right things and stay motivated.
So my question, because I'm glad you said that, do you have to consciously think about what you do and what you eat as you pretty much go through every day of life as a diabetic?
Um, Early on, if you do the right things to get to get your numbers under control, and and you stay in that gym, you really don't have to. But the less active you are, the more conscious you must be. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. No, I'm glad you shared that. And we're probably going to talk a little bit more about that here coming up soon, especially about the diet. Gentlemen, what say ye?
I would say for me, one of the how has weight looked like for me has been um people. And not just people, but their problems and their issues, right? So it seemed like for some reason we don't like to go to therapy
Mm,
in our community. Um, but we will call our friend and or we'll call anybody who will listen and download everything on them. So I know for me, one of the things that I used to do is I would hold on to all of their stuff, right? And now I'm over here trying to live my life and live in my relationship, and I'm just like, oh man, wonder how Chris is doing today. Man, last week he told me this, this, this. Man, I wonder how Coach is doing. He telling me this, 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 because I've been absorbing all of their problems for months after month after year because I was their safe place for them to download on. And I think it's okay for us to have a place for people to talk to us, but at the same time, I don't think that it should go past a certain point to where it becomes where it becomes a problem for you. Like and it becomes overwhelming. And then now, like I said, their problems and issues are starting to have an impact on you and your life and how you choose to move. So I would definitely say for me, the weight has looked like I said, just having letting people take away too much of my time that they may not have deserved, and then allowing them to put all of their stuff on me, and then more importantly, myself, um, allowing myself to do that and not cutting it off earlier in life. But now I don't deal with all of that stuff no more.
man,
I
I
have
like
time to carry everybody's burdens.
man, I like the way you went with this because I think what we're going to find throughout this conversation, we're probably going to lean a lot on something similar to that. But I do want to ask you a question in relation to what you just said. Because from my experience and conversations that I've had within the self help arena, one of the things that I realized is that sometimes we can create our identity by our perception of helping another person, and if we're not in that arena at that particular point in time, we feel like we're not necessarily adequate for that area of time that we're in. When did you get to the point of realizing that that was a weight for you, and how did you overcome that? I'm just kind of curious.
Probably about 4 years ago, within the last 3 or 4 years or so. And I don't really know what I did. It just kind of came to me like a realization. It's like I started breaking down my day. I started looking at well, actually, I guess it was a process. I started looking kind of sort of through my phone at how many times I was calling people, looking through the text message to see what we were texting about. And the people that I was looking at is I was always the person contacting them, or every time that we had a conversation, it was about them and about them downloading all of that crap on me. Those are the people I started to identify as not necessarily, yes, they have a certain value and they may be valuable to me, but at the same time, they're not adding value to my life. And a lot of times, it can kind of look like they're sucking the life out of me,
Hmm.
and it's like they're pulling and they're taking away my energy, or I'm giving them my energy,
Hmm.
So now I'm just like, bro, I ain't got time for that stuff no more.
Right, right. That's good. That's good. And as you guys listen to this in the chats, listen. I want you to kind of think about your own situation and consider like when did you go through that transformation as well? Because I think a lot of us actually experience that, and some of us know it, some of us don't know it. And I want us to kind of lean into that because this is a way for us to again get better. So thank you for sharing that with us and for everyone. Shout out to Mr. Hayes. Good to see you again, my friend. Trust me, you are always value added to any of these conversations that we have. So by all means, please feel free to share. And I wish I had that problem. You know, he said he was trying to gain weight for the past 30 years. Now, brother, I'm trying to lose it. So turn it over to Roland or Chris, man. What are your thoughts on this reflection?
Well, to me, weight was more along the lines of learning about everything that I was taught wrong about and trying to fix it. And it's like it's heavy because I'm 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 fighting a war between my old teachings and my new teachings,
Hmm.
knowing that my new teachings are where I should be and my old teachings got me to where I am. So it's like, what do I do? You understand what I'm saying? So I keep moving in the direction that I'm moving because I know the direction that I'm moving in is going to benefit me in the future instead of thinking about all of the things that I was taught in the past and wondering if I don't know, wondering if I'm turning my back on the people that taught me. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's a weird fight.
Hmm.
It's a weird fight to have, especially when it's internal and really it's difficult for me to even explain.
Yeah. Hmm. When did you come to that point? Kind of like I asked Uncle Junior, right? I want to make sure I'm giving you the time to express all this. When did you come to the realization that you were in a struggle between the old stuff that you learned versus the new stuff that you are learning?
When I saw that the old stuff wasn't working no more,
Hmm.
but breaking a habit that you've been doing for your whole life is the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. Like there are times where my body doesn't even know what's happening. And my body will tell me, hey, something is wrong. But my mind is like, you doing what you're supposed to do. And your body is, it's kind of like a fight or flight thing.
Yeah.
If I were to baseline it, my body doesn't, my body and my mind they don't know, they're not on the same page.
Right.
And so they're fighting. And it's the craziest thing that I've ever experienced. It's scary and it's exciting at the same time, but it's still heavy.
Yeah.
It's still heavy.
I like it. Yeah, hold that energy, brother. We're going to talk about that here in a real hot second. Um, Roland, what you got, brother?
Physically, I was always athletic. I was always, in the military, always athletic as a leader. I was always told that if you lead, you lead from the front. So physical fitness was a thing that we always had to do. It just came second nature. And I didn't gain any weight physically until I had my heart attacks. And
Mm.
then when I had my heart attacks, I blew up after the heart attack because I wasn't eating. Then I was losing weight. Then they say, "Well, eat whatever you want." And then I said, "Okay, forget that heart healthy diet." So I started eating hamburgers every day. I was eating bacon cheeseburgers when I did eat all that mess. And then I blew up to, I'm on a 5'9" frame. I blew up to 230. And then I was like, man,
Sheesh.
I can't play ball no more. I get up out the chair. It's like, goodness, I could feel the weight burdening me. And then I started walking, I started eating better, and got down to where I am now pretty much. And now the other weight, the weight that people don't see, that weight stems from growing up, cultural biases, and also uh, you tend to take on the behaviors that you are surrounded by if you don't
Right.
have any guidance. So, I grew up in the hood, so that was natural for me. And so I did those things. And I'm like, Chris, you kind of you allow those things to, in the back of your mind, you say, I got to be like this. I got to be hard. I got to be this. So you tend to get yourself in situations where I got myself in situations where I thought I had to be the hard person, and I didn't. I thought I was fighting against somebody else, and I wasn't. I should have been just fighting against those demons that were trying to hold me down, hold me
Yeah.
back, because we allow some things to hold us back because we think it's the innate us when it's not necessarily that at all.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up cultural biases because if you don't mind, sir, I would like for you to give us an example of one. Because I think it's important to talk about. So go ahead, please.
I think growing up in Detroit, we were always proud to be the murder capital of the world. So, like when you talk about guns, I had guns way before the military.
Yeah.
I got shot in Detroit. I didn't get shot in the military. And even to this day, I tell people if I'm not in the shower or a swimming pool, I got a gun on me. And it's just something people be like, oh, you just doing that because no, before it was legal, I still did it. It was because it was in my head that I'm gonna have to protect myself against somebody at some point in time. So I want to always be ready. So you had those biases and the biases that what stays in the house or what happens in the house stays in the house.
Right.
That's one of those things that can negatively affect, especially our youth, because they have situations that come up and things that happen to them where they need to tell somebody, and because they don't tell somebody, it builds up in them, and then when it finally does explode, he's like, "What's wrong with them? Well, I didn't
Yeah.
know they were like that." And then people calling them crazy, and no, they're not crazy. They just have all that animosity and life built up in them when they shouldn't even have it. They should have had a place to talk about it or a safe space.
Good point. I'm glad you brought that to the conversation as well. Because as you're listening to these gentlemen articulate their reflection, you're hearing a lot of things, and probably some of the things they're talking about are you can relate to. And I think that's important to understand. And I've known Roland. I mean, we've met in the army, and I mean, like you said, I've always known him to be very athletic. So when he told me about his heart attacks, I was like, no, can't be something. What happened? You know what I'm saying? It just kind of caught me. It just caught me off guard. And I mean, we would, we was them young Thundercats back then, running. We was getting it and playing football the whole nine. But yeah, when he told me about that, it just kind of caught me off guard. Um, but this is the stress that we kind of absorb when it comes down to that weight. I'm gonna go the same direction, right? Because like I said, the army thing, right? There's and that's why I put Michelle's up there because she's spot on. There is a stigma within the army. It's the weight control program, right? Now let's just be completely transparent. The army did not create their weight standards based upon us. Just being honest. So we pick up weight based upon what we're doing. And I was played football before I joined the army and all that stuff. So weights was a thing for me. And then it just got to the point where I started experiencing some anxieties and frustration, things of that nature. So I started devoting time to the gym. So I bulked up really fast. And then, like Roland, at one time, I was at 220, but on a 5'8" frame. Now 220 on a 5'8" frame, in your mind, like, oh man, you was fat. No, I wasn't. I had like 6% body fat. But running at that was just almost unheard of. I would run 2 miles and feel like I'm about to pass out.
Yes, sir.
And so that's just the thing. So I had to find that balance in between exercising and being able to have cardiovascular fitness to go along with the exercise that I was doing. And so again, it's the weight control program that influences us because you are a certain height. That means your neck can't be but so thick. Your midsection can't be for so thick for the men, and then the women, I think it's the hips, the neck, and the forearm, something of that nature. I can't remember
Right.
specifically because it's been years since I taped the person. But again,
It's been updated.
It's been updated. It needs to be tossed. But
It works. I think it works on the other end too. It works on the other side of the spectrum because I think that people who look the part or who score high APFT, they're sometimes seen as better soldiers or something like that,
precisely, it's
and
the image.
that's not exactly the image. But I know I probably benefited from it, so I'm just being honest because I was always in shape and always
But
all of
but
those things.
but
You know what I
we
mean?
all know some sisters who got a trunk behind them.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be a bad thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
True. And
Because they're gonna tape it.
right, right. And that's
The
not
the the widest part.
Her the hips. Yeah.
right. And it's not a fair comparison.
Right.
And that's the whole point that I'm getting at. So we have a system, we had a system that was it kind of leaned in the direction of physical fitness, but it was based upon a particular standard that we didn't necessarily fit in. And so physical fitness for 24 years was a way of life. And I'll be honest with you, when I was in the army, I never failed an APFT. I would always be overweight, but never bust tape simply because of my physical makeup. Well, transition into, the weight that, as Roland said, the weight that is, I mean, the weight that is unseen. Well, you have that idea. And for me, I would be as transparent as I can possibly be. It was perfectionism. I always viewed it for not wanting to disappoint my mother. I didn't want to disappoint my coach. I didn't want to disappoint like teachers and things of that nature. So I was always criticizing myself. And unfortunately, when you live a life of criticizing yourself, you're constantly under stress and pressure, and it took me some years to realize that that's what I was doing to myself. So once I got to that point to where I came from under the umbrella of, just self-inflicted wounds based upon being very critical of myself, then I got to the point of realizing that there's some other, weights that I was carrying, right? Going back to Uncle Junior's statement, it was to the point to where I was like the person that people would call on. Hey, I need to talk to you about this. You got a minute? I had other people, soldiers, that would call me and say, hey, I really want to talk to you because I'm not feeling this. And, this is just too much stress. And you can kind of figure out where the rest of that conversation would go. And it's like, man, should he be calling me? Like, why you ain't call your supervisor? And so I was that guy. Um, and so like Uncle Junior, I would take on, I don't want to say unnecessary, but take on more baggage. Right now, mind you, this time I'm married. I got a wife. I got kids. I got bills. I got responsibilities. I still got the army. I got to be all you can be. I still got to counsel soldiers. I still got to look the part. All of that stuff. It was a lot. And so when you look at the comparison between the stress that we put ourselves through when it comes down to not just wanting to look the part from an outside perspective, because whatever people see you, that's their initial perception, but then also trying to be the part from a psychological perspective, you can kind of see where this conversation is going. And so thank you, all of you guys who are actually in the chats. I see what you're putting out there. You guys are killing me with the fluffy thing. No, we ain't gonna go. Again, welcome to the night's conversation. Now, as we go forward, I want to kind of set the conditions. So if you're looking for us to help you lose weight, pay attention. We're going to talk about that as well. But we're going to talk about it from both perspectives. So we're going to talk about weight loss, and we're going to talk about how to lose that added weight that you've added on yourself over the years. So one of the key points that we talk about with weight loss is having a healthy diet. Gentlemen, in your opinions, based upon how this conversation have started, what are the effects of a healthy diet, and how can I improve my diet?
I think diet goes and you can diet can be a bunch of different things. I don't know much about a healthy eating diet because I literally eat whatever I want. I'm 42 years old and I still have the metabolism of a 12-year-old. So I burn anything and everything that I take in.
Bless
So
you.
it's difficult for me to even put on weight. But I just changed what I took in as far as my mental diet. I started listening to different people. I started reading different materials. I started going to different places, places that were more beneficial to me, and not staying stuck within these four walls or within these city limits, because I understand that there's more out there. And in the city that I'm in, it's really, really easy to get sucked in and stuck.
Hmm.
So I had to understand that. And when I saw myself getting stuck, I had to go back to listening to the things that I listened to get me out of that funk, especially when it comes. And I still struggle with this. I have a really, really tough time with negative thoughts popping through my head.
Hmm.
Like, I always think the absolute worst until I started writing out and putting everywhere that I heard a quote, and it says, "Your worst fears never ever happen," because they don't. So why even go that route? Why even go that extreme? You're in a situation, work it out. If you need help, ask for it. Get your ego out of the way. Read more, learn a skill, be around people that are growing, things like that. I focus more on my mental health, but my diet is trash. I'm not gonna lie to you as far as food. I eat whatever I want.
Man, that's a good problem to have, brother. I'm just saying.
Uh,
Go ahead.
and it,
See, I think it's a good problem outwardly, but inwardly, you have to
hmm
think because your diet is more important than your physical exercise. Because
Make it make sense.
see, it's like having a Corvette. If you got a Corvette, you can wash it all day and it look good. But if you putting trash gasoline in there, trash oil, trash transmission fluid, and all these things, when it runs, it's gonna be sluggish. It's not gonna get up to speed as much. And when it comes to your body, that's what happened with me. I was 185 pounds. I was running with the soldiers and all that other stuff. But every morning I got two sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles.
Oh, that
And I
sounds
used
so
to say,
amazing.
oh, it was too. And I used to say, I'm getting my heart attack sandwich. And next thing you know, boom. And they said my arteries were 90% blocked. So I had to have that
Mm.
quadruple bypass. See, and when it comes to diet is so important. When I was 230 pounds, I was sluggish. And then I started eating better. I said, okay, let me lean off these meats. I don't eat pork and shellfish and all that other stuff, but I eat steak, I eat red meat. And anybody knows that when they eat it, they gonna feel that steak in their body for a couple of days
That's right.
because it doesn't necessarily digest properly and it's just gonna sit there. And then people eat, people load up on these carbs, sandwiches and all that other stuff. And when you eat that stuff, we don't realize what it turns to. Your breads, your chips, your potatoes, and all that other stuff. We say carbs, but at the end of the day, they are sugars. Your body changed them over to sugars, and next thing you know, you down there like young Timothy. You getting your finger sticks and all this because I was pre-diabetic, and they gave me all this medication. I don't know if I should say this on here, but they gave me this medication, and I take it. But I changed my diet, and then I go back to the doctor. They said, "Oh man, them pills doing well for you." I'm like,
hmm
I ain't pre-diabetic no more. I changed my eating habits, pills, because when you change your eating habits, then you'll feel better. You'll feel lighter, and I eat more green vegetables and things like that. Everybody talked about Dr. Sebi, and everybody want to jump on any fad, but it's not about fads and diets. It's about a lifestyle because you can eat what you want in moderation. But junk food can't be, when you're young, it's gonna catch up to you eventually.
I'm glad you said that. Because we view the word diet as a temporary thing. January 1st, everybody's going on a diet, right? Because they didn't spend all Thanksgiving and Christmas eating whatever they want. And so they start dieting going into the new year and then they hit the gym. So all gyms going to be packed, the months of January and February. By March, they start dwindling down. And, by April, the faithful people stay. And then by June, of course, those people are going to be the only people there ever. So that's kind of like the key. But I'm glad you brought that because diet should not be a temporary thing. It should be a way of life. So thank you for sharing that, sir. And Chris, we're not ridiculing your eating habits. Again, you have a problem that we wish we had. You know what I'm saying? Something he is. You have a
No, I
problem.
mean,
You
but see, I eat clean relatively, but I have a cheat day that is massive. I overindulge on my cheat day, and I
it's
know it, and
Thanksgiving.
it feels phenomenal. But I know for that 6 days that I'm eating what I'm supposed to, I'm eating what I'm supposed to eat. I'm taking in the fluids that I'm supposed to take in. I know I'm good. I'm not overindulging like you see everybody, like you see people trying to make it okay. Like
Yeah.
it's not okay to overindulge in healthy foods. It's just not.
You said healthy?
I said unhealthy.
Oh, okay. Like, boy, you eating too much lettuce. You better.
Nothing wrong with lettuce, man. All right, who else? The effects of a healthy diet and how can I improve it?
Man, I'm gonna say like for me, your diet should be ever evolving, right? Because you should forever be learning and understanding, and that seems like too much, right? But when you're in your early 30s and they tell you you're a diabetic, you realize that everything about your body is affected by what you put into it. Your vision, your mental capacity, your reaction time, your your breathing gets better when you lose that weight. I remember having to struggle to throw my feet up just to put a sock on because I had gained too much weight. Like,
Ooh.
but but
Ooh.
what happened for me was I had to find a fix that was different than what everybody else was telling me because I had the doctors telling me pretty much to eat air. You give me a packet this thick of things that I can't eat, and then you can hand me 2 sheets of stuff that I can eat.
Mm.
And I was like, I know you see this big boy sitting here. There's no way I was gonna go from everything to nothing, right? So I had to make it make sense to me. And so in that, my diet began to ever evolve. Now, you know, I'm not in a family to where everybody in my house is healthy. So every now and then, I have to create my own access to the things that are good for me. Or I'm gonna find myself down there with the with the honey buns and the strawberry Swiss rolls. Don't
Come on, man.
taste,
Why you had to bring
but
honey buns in the
Oh my
conversation, man?
but
God.
you know, but
Oh.
that's just reality. So so for me, it got easier when I just did it. Right? How do I better my diet? Just just do better, learn better, and do better. Right? Like Roland said, everybody want to jump on this diet here, this diet here, this diet. Get something that is sustainable. Understand your eating, and when you that's something that I try to do because like 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 Rose say, we don't dine with this swine. We don't. And now, don't get me wrong, bacon tastes delicious. I just
Oh my
don't eat
God.
it.
About to tell
And
you,
I'll
make
put
them
bacon
lean
on
like
ice
a
cream if
ribs,
I
bro.
could, you know. But that that concept of understanding how my food affects what I put in my body, it not only changed my blood sugar, but it changed my body composition. It changed just how I slept and how I woke up.
Yeah.
Just because I've been in the military for almost 2 decades, I wake up early automatically. I just get up. 5 o'clock, my eyes open. But I get up and I'm still tired. When my diet is right, not just good, because I'm juicing. Yeah, that's not always good for you to just juice. I'm doing keto, yeah, but that 70% fat diet ain't gonna be good for you long term. You know, Find something that's sustainable. And then our diet on our life side, it's the same thing. It should be ever evolving.
Mm.
You should be ever learning. You should be ever growing. And like Chris says, he said, I go into places and spaces that are more healthy for me. But even in those spaces, I learn things that causes me to read other things and see other things and evolve there. You
Yeah.
know.
Man, thank you for sharing that with us, man. Because trust me, I understand you guys hear his story, but the brother's in shape. Don't let him fool you. I done went through his Facebook because I'm looking. I need to add you to the intro, by the way. So I don't know if Roland shared that with you. So I was searching your Facebook trying to find some pictures. I think I seen one of you and your wife. I'm gonna steal. I need your permission first, though. But the brother's in shape. Don't let him fool you. Obviously, he's done a lot of great work on his health, and man, just shout out to you on that. And I like where you went with the aspect of the other side where we should be ever evolving and ever learning. So, man, that is awesome. Thank you for that. Me, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I had a philosophy when I used to work out. I would tell anybody who listen, don't use me as a role model. I work out to eat. Just what it is. I like to eat whatever it is I want to eat when I want to eat it. Is it the best course of action? Maybe not for you, but I would go spend hours in the gym just so I can go eat junk, and it worked. I will be honest with you. Throughout my military career, I think it was probably a large portion of some of the stress I kind of mentioned to you previously, in conjunction with some of my eating habits. I would say that I my blood pressure has always been borderline high. So that's something that I always had to keep in the back of my mind. That was another reason why I exercised the way I did. Um, because I wanted to make sure I kept my blood pressure regulated. Because as we know in our community, stress, high blood pressure is a silent killer. So I had to be consciously aware of that, and still to this day. And every time I go to the VA and they hook me up to the machine and I say I've been studying for this test. We joke about it, but seriously, it's something I'm consciously aware of simply because I need to be. But I think it's not just diet and eating habits and my ability to work out. It is the amount of stress that I allow to infiltrate my life. It came a certain point in time, and it's probably about 5 years ago. I decided that I was going to live a life that was drama free. So if you were a drama laden person, then I would create space intentionally. And it wasn't that I viewed you as a bad person. It was just that I did not want to take on your level of drama. That became therapeutic. In fact, peace was the most important thing to me. So when it came down to a healthy diet from a mental perspective, like Chris, I realized that the people that I surrounded myself with was key. Not just that, it was the things that I consumed, i.e., the books that I read. I used to read the Bible every month, still do read the Bible every morning. I used to listen to certain podcasts, and it was certain people I would follow because I needed the information that they were sharing. And back then, like Chris, I started feeling this anxiety. This is what I used to know. This is what I now know. And this is fighting to hold on for dear life. But I would not let it win. So I had to release it, and I would find ways to release it. And then what I found is that I started feeling lighter. I started feeling healthier just by simply changing the things that I put here. Once I decided to do that, it's like a whole new world opened up. Yeah, I started looking at people differently. And again, we talked about some of this previously. So by all means, go back and listen to some of our previous conversations as well. But I started looking at people differently. I started communicating with people differently. And I felt that it was more important for me to be honest than to sugarcoat the truth for the sake of saving somebody else's feelings over mine. Like if we can't have honest conversation, we just can't have conversation. That's all I got. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And so that was why my social circle was important. And so for me, and shout out to Edgar Fuentes. I see you in there, sir. And you're welcome anytime, by the way. But so people like that, like he is a person that whenever I was around, it was nothing but good vibes. Rolling the same way, nothing but good vibes, positive, uplifting, hard. Don't get me wrong. They would tell you when you're in error. That's what I needed. I needed somebody to be honest with me. I don't think you understand how much stress that takes off of your life because you're no longer trying to live in a false representative of reality. So, part of the effects of a healthy diet for me was ingesting the right information, surrounding myself with the right people, being intentional about growing and developing outside of the old version of myself into that untapped person that I knew existed someplace. Roland, Uncle Junior, I apologize, sir. Gentlemen, by all means.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, I'll go because I just read your private chat.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to follow that up. Um, so, I think I think that the effects of a healthy diet, speaking from a physical point of view, is great. I think that when the body is good and and you're functioning and you're operating on all cylinders, it's going to start the cycle of the mental part of that. So, and I think that they both kind of sort of work together. When you have a strong mind, you can dial in a good diet or eating plan. You can plan out your life. You can do all these great things, and then to where you can have the mental capacity to stay on the diet. And then once you're on a diet or eating plan or healthy living and stuff like that, that physical that you're eating and what you're putting in your body, I just think that it all works together. Like, if you're taking care of your body and taking care of your body's going to take care of your mind's going to take care of your body. And you just get into this good cycle of feeding your brain and feeding your body nothing but good stuff. You know what I mean? Putting great information into your brain, putting good miles on your legs or whatever you like to do to work out, or putting good food in your body instead of eating a bunch of bacon and stuff like I do. And I think it was good that you pointed it out, because I honestly thought about that. I don't know why Roland had a heart attack or anything like that, but that was one of the first things that I thought, is that you can eat and do all these different things, and a lot of times a lot smaller guys and thinner guys, it'll mask over a lot of those different inside things that's going on with your Corvette, because you got crappy oil and crappy gas and stuff inside of it. So you got to take care of all of those things. But I think effects of a healthy diet is that the mind is stronger and the body's stronger.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just had one more thing, and it deals with the men. I can't speak from the female's perspective because I had signs that I had issues beforehand. I was physically fit, everything looked good in the whole nine. But when you have young dudes and they have ED problems, something is clogging your arteries, not allowing that blood flow to reach where it needs to go. So don't get so happy that you can go get some Cialis or some Viagra. You need to go get checked out, get your stuff checked out, your blood work done, so that you can make sure that they can check that portion. Because I was in that realm where like boom, they say, okay, you have this problem. I'm like, man, I ain't never had this problem, but I got this problem now. And I'm thinking I'm still young, but I'm eating like crap.
Yeah.
And that let me know. So then when they say your arteries are 90% blocked, I'm like, oh. So now after they remove all that mess and throw some new arteries up there, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But I can't go back to that, because if I start, feeling a little way, little Ro like to do what he do. So I'm married. I can do that. But I don't, for a man, that builds up in your psyche when you can't perform for your woman. So
Absolutely.
it has a lot to do with diet and a lot less to do with activity.
Absolutely. Good point. I'm glad you brought that to the table, because I know within the male community there are some concerns, some pride issues when it comes down to going to the doctor. And Uncle Junior, we talked about this before, right? Some pride concerns. And I'm not saying that as though he had pride or we had pride. We just talked about it from the perspective that men collectively have some concerns, or too prideful to go to the doctor and get checked out and be completely honest with the doctor. So again, I'm glad you brought that to the table, because you're absolutely right. Like, we as men, again, going back to what I said, we got to learn to be honest, first with ourselves, then with everybody else. That includes being honest with your doctor. When they ask what's wrong, don't say nothing. Tell them exactly what's wrong. That goes with your spouse. When they ask what's wrong, tell them exactly what's wrong. That goes for your parent. When they ask what's wrong, tell them exactly what's wrong. trust me, they can handle it. They're adults. You know, that's why they ask. They want to help as much as you possibly can. So don't hold back, don't sugarcoat, and don't live a facade. Be completely honest, transparent, and put that out there. Another piece I want to add to the diet, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. One of the things that I've learned, and Uncle Junior, you probably tracking this, and Chris, I know you are as well, because I know you work out. Um, 4 to 5 times a day, you need to eat. Right, eat small portions. Like, don't get those big monstrous Thanksgiving plates every night. Right, you want to do 4 to 5 portions a day. Right, you need to have a healthy diet so that you can increase your metabolism. When you eat like that, your metabolism will speed up, and it's going to have an expectation for you to eat constantly. And then one of the things I used to do back in my personal training days, I would have my clients fast once a week. So if you eat 4 to 5 times a day and then fast like on the seventh day, what you will find is that you will systematically start burning weight. It has to happen. It's a scientific fact. So you incorporate that with some, as we transition, with some exercising, then what you will find is that it will all work out for your good. Now, I have written here for all my Army veterans to achieve and maintain target heart rate for 20 minutes. Um, so that kind of gets after what we tend to call the fat burning zone. This is just intentional activity that moves you outside of your comfort zone so that you can find a new comfort zone. As I'm talking about this, you can start to understand what I'm saying. So your target heart rate, I'm getting tongue tied over here, is a range of numbers that reflect how fast your heart should be beating when exercising. A higher rate is a good thing that leads to greater fitness. Target heart rate is generally expressed as a percentage, usually between 50% to 85%. What you must first do is find your resting heart rate. So take the number 220 and subtract it from your year. In Roland's case, you would take 220 and subtract 50, and you'll come out with 170. Just just putting you out there, bro. Um, so 170 is his resting heart rate, right? And so 50 to 85% of that is where he would hit the fat burner zone when exercising. This is why when you exercise, you probably shouldn't exercise for no less than 30 minutes. And what you want to do is you want to hit that 50 to 85% and maintain it there for 20 consecutive minutes. If you go up and down, that's different, but you want to keep it constant. There are certain exercises to where you can speed it up and slow it down and speed it up and slow it down, but you want to keep it within that range. So I read all of that just to say, again, the idea of the target heart rate is to move you outside of your comfort zone. Gentlemen, let's eat.
Man, you talking about getting outside the comfort zone. I was wanting to jump in right there. But
Yeah.
I'll kind of dial it back a little bit because I'm a firm believer in getting outside of your comfort zone and doing something you don't want to do. Um, and hey, what's up, Charlotte? What you doing? That's my mom.
I know.
It
We
just threw me off
always
when I saw that.
welcome. I want that's
That's
why I
your
put up
mom,
there. Yeah, that's Miss
Yeah,
Uncle. That's the mother of
it's
Uncle
Mama Uncle
Junior.
Junior.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
Mama,
Mama
Uncle
Uncle Junior.
Junior. How you
Welcome to the show
doing?
as always.
yeah,
I'd be looking for a name.
man,
I'm gonna be honest with you. We love all the mamas here, by the way.
yeah, man. Throw the question back up there,
It's
cause
up there.
yeah.
He done
Oh no,
got
no, no,
time.
I'm good. I'm
Memphis,
good. I got
Memphis.
it. Now leave it. I got it. Um, the one of the big things I took out of that was that you said for 20 minutes. So in order to do something for 20 minutes, that means you have to first do it for 1 minute, and then 2 minutes, and then 3 minutes. So you have to be consistent with that. And then even at the same time, you can't just do it one day and then expect a miracle. You know what I mean? Like it takes time, it takes patience, it takes a plan. Like you have to keep going over it over and over and over. So, one of the things about the heart rate just in general is, if we move it to the brain and take it out of the physical, is that the same thing? Maybe starting off with reading something for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Get your brain heart rate up for at least 20 minutes a day. Cause I honestly I don't like reading. I get most of mine in through podcasts. Most of my books I got um is audible, and I've decided to combine, a few years ago I combined my workouts with my feeding my brain. So when I work out, I don't listen to music anymore. Every once in a while I'll listen to music, but now I'm listening to a podcast. I'm listening to an empowering perspective podcast or something like that. Like that's the stuff that I do now. So Now when I work out, I'm getting it both ways. So and you have to be consistent with it, not only the 20 minutes with your body, but at least 20 minutes a day with your brain. And like Chris said, that's all I got to say.
Okay, man, I love that. I love that. And again, I want to point this out because as we already stated, this is Uncle Junior's mom, and we greatly appreciate every time she shows up. But one of the things that I want to point out as you read this is her next statement. Her son was pointing her in the right direction. I think this is key. This is powerful. I don't think we really get a good grasp of the, of the gravity of this entire situation. Like they do everything they did to build us up. And then when we become adults, we turn around and give back to them. So I want to point that out, man, because I think that's awesome. Shout out to Uncle Junior for always, trying to help his mom. And that's what we have to do. We have to help our mothers, our parents, and things of that nature. So I just want to point that out. And again, thank you for sharing that with us, Miss Charlotte. Sorry for stealing your thunder, Uncle Junior, making you nervous.
I guess I'm
Now
gonna
you
jump in
good.
with the target heart rate. I think one thing that we need to do that we don't do, and this is for everybody, is we jump up and we read. We jump up and we listen. We jump up and we do. Sometimes we need to jump up and have silence for 20 minutes because that allows you to decompress because the world is going to add a lot on you.
Yeah.
You're going to listen to a bunch of junk and the radio and the TV and Kyrie and Kanye and Deion Sanders, all that's going to be coming a mile a minute.
And R. Kelly.
And Kale's got a new CD, message. And so you get all that in here and your mind is constantly thinking. So then when you try to settle yourself, it's harder because you have all this jumping up. So when you first wake up, I don't do anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm not talking. I'm just going to try to decompress for a duration of time. And I try to maintain that so I won't just jump into something and then, because you can jump in. I can jump on Facebook and jump into some mess real quick.
I had to deactivate my page because of that. That's another part of what I feed my brain. I had to get off of that. Facebook is full of nothing but bad news and people with keyboards looking to pick fights.
I try to listen people and making people laugh myself, but
so I'm a jump on board here because I think I'm agreeing with everything you guys say. Right. Again, this was my thing. I would go to the gym and I would stay in the gym for an hour and I would do an exercise. Well, I would do exercises to where there was no rest in between. So I learned that I can lift weights, but still lifting weights have a cardio effect too. Because I hated running. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I hated running. Sorry, Uncle Junior. Just putting it out there. I hated running, bro. Being honest. But when I learned that I could actually lift weights and lifting weights can actually have a cardiovascular effect as long as I don't put any rest in between, then I was like, yo, see, I was P90X before P90X was a thing. That's the only thing P90X was. P90X was just going from exercise to exercise to exercise. Same thing with CrossFit. Same thing, right? So that's what I started doing. But then I realized transition for me moving outside of my comfort zone, I needed to go from comfort zone to comfort zone to comfort zone to comfort zone. So moving outside of your comfort zone is simply intentionally recreating a new comfort zone. Once you find a new comfort zone, you go recreate another comfort zone. So in essence, you're living a life of constant growth and it's intentional. And if we do not do that, what ends up happening is that we live what is called a sedimentary life. So if I don't intentionally go do some exercise for 30 minutes a day, ensuring that I achieve and maintain target heart rate for 20 minutes, then literally what I'm doing is pretty much finding a place of complacency, right? So transition, that's what happens here a lot of time, especially when you talk to people who don't want to hear your new perspective, or you're sharing something with them and their initial response is, but, and they bring something else to the table. So I'm a stickler when it comes down to conversation for this perspective. If I introduce something to the table, let's just say, this is my cup. And then Uncle Junior said, well, this is my cup. I ain't asked you about your cup. I'm talking about my cup right now. Respond to my cup. That's the definition of effective communication. A lot of time we don't get that because we're so accustomed to communicating in a very unhealthy and unprogressive manner. So you will say something, and then next thing you know, a one-upper and say, "Oh, I did something like that." Ain't nobody asked you that. You see what I'm saying? In fact, that's why I always say, and I think I said it before, one-uppers are very toxic. Like if you're constantly around a person and everything you say, they are coming back saying, well, I did that too, or I did it this way, or I fought a lion with my bare hands. Move away from them because that's what they're doing. So this is another thing. What we have to do is be accustomed. We got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So even in the midst of communication, we have a responsibility to actually look at the way that we communicate so that we can improve. I have not yet arrived. I'll be honest with you. There's still some things I'm working on with me. And I'm sure the gentlemen on this panel can actually agree, not just with me, but for themselves as well. We're constantly working to become better communicators. We're constantly working to become better thinkers. If we're not intentionally thinking about what we're thinking about, metacognition, then we don't understand the value of our thoughts. So that's another thing that moves us outside of our comfort zone. Because if you really stop and think about it, you'll realize, like in a immature sense, a lot of our thoughts are more toxic than what we really realize. Like if you can look at a person and automatically think a negative thought about them, that's not about them. That's more so about me. So that's part of that achieving and maintaining target heart rate for 20 minutes. I need to intentionally move outside of my comfort zone. Identify a space in your life right now that you're complacent. If I'm sitting down, looking at TikTok for 30 minutes, guilty. TikTok is funny, I'm sorry. But if I'm looking at TikTok for 30 minutes, guilty, then I need to stop. Because let's just be honest, there's not a lot of, there are some good things on TikTok, but there's more trash that comes across TikTok than good stuff. So I need to intentionally look at the good stuff. And so, I'll share some other perspective about TikTok. So again, be intentional about getting outside of your comfort zone and be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes, sir. You kind of went where a little bit where I was going to go, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Uh, One thing I realized, and I'm trying to be self conscious with myself. I find that complacency makes up three things for me. I'm speaking for myself. It's borderline selfishness. It's regressive and it's destructive.
Hmm.
And because most of us, what we do in our complacency is we're not necessarily happy where we are. What we actually doing is we're thinking that the circumstance ought to change in spite of my lack of desire to do anything to change it.
Hmm.
And that's a destructive mindset. There's nowhere to go with that mindset but backwards, but to the grave. Like whether it's with your health, whether it's with your attitude, and let's just be 100. This is why most of us be in church for 20, 30 years and feel like we have gone nowhere because somehow we allow people to cause us to believe that the God that we serve is okay with us doing nothing, but he was going to change the circumstance.
Ooh, you about to open up a can of worms. I see it coming.
So I'm trying to pull back.
You good, brother?
But you can't walk through anything in life. You go to work and say I'm gonna do nothing, but I want my paycheck. You won't have a job. I bet you continue that behavior, you end up jobless. Good. And you ever heard a podcast where the people decide not to talk? Like you can't do nothing and expect a result or expect a change. That's self-destructive. So whatever it is, like Coach said, find that place to where you are complacent or comfortable and elevate it. Like I used to be that. I used to be that guy that cardio, like when we talking about 20 minutes. I cardio to my 20 minutes and got to my target heart rate, and I was happy. But what I didn't realize was with cardio, when you running, especially, as soon as you stop running, that heart rate drop. The body stops operating the way you want it to operate. So I got smart. I like to lift weights more than I like to run. So I'll run for 20 minutes on my way to the gym, get my target heart rate up before I start lifting. You know, that was to get me out my comfort zone. Then when I got comfortable doing that, I started adding jump rope in between my sets. I got comfortable with that. I end my workout and I started swimming afterwards. Like, and I could staying where you at meant that I was really not going forward, not moving. Wonder why my promotion points didn't move because my PT score was that. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's a great conversation to get into a little later, but no, you're right. And for me, I used to do pre-workout, so this kind of goes back to what Roland was talking about, right? So sit quiet and then just meditate. And I think that's important. So I would go sit in the sauna. I'll take my pre-workout and go sit in the sauna and get warm. And once, and the idea was for me to stand there for 30 minutes. But when I came out, it was yes, exactly. That's how I came out. It was
Was you itching?
Oh man, not itching, bro. I literally came out. It was almost like, coming down the aisle at a wrestling match. Like that was me. I was ready. And people speak, I throw my hand up and I'm moving because I had my headphones on, I was focused. But if I can get focused to work out and lift weights, why can't I get focused about life? Focus on being better and doing better, not doing better so people can think I'm better, right? Because I think that's the difference when we start looking at the weight that we've encountered throughout the entirety of our life. Like we shouldn't carry the weight that we were carrying psychologically in our younger states. But when we move forward, see, you know what, man? I can't with you, man. I can't.
And they're shaking the ropes.
Exactly. That's how it felt, man. Like seriously,
smacking people on the back going into the gym.
Hey, man, I'm just saying.
That was me though. Like, bro, I like it.
Yeah, but why can't we do that for life? Why can't we get that animated when it comes down to our growth and development? Because let's just be honest, you're not growing and developing for yourself alone. You're growing and developing so that you can be an asset to other people. And I think that's the key. What you got, Chris?
I got nothing. I'm just listening. I'm listening. All of you have said a lot of things that make a lot of sense, especially when it comes to, especially with what you just said, being focused on lifting weights, but not being focused on life. A lot of people are focused on the aesthetic of how it looks on the outside, as opposed to what the inside work looks like, because nobody can see that. Nobody can see you working on yourself on the inside because it's on the inside. Only you know you're doing it. They may be able to see it later when they see you progressing and doing what you need to do to move forward. But inside work don't look good. Right. So I think that's why a lot of people focus more on the gym aspect of it, because let's be real, when you in the gym and you doing your thing and you actually are seeing results, because people outside of you will see results when you going into the gym before you do, because you look at yourself every day. So when you start getting that validation, that makes you want to go harder in the gym. But that same type of validation doesn't come when you're working on your mental, because it's you and your mental by yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that might be why it's so difficult to focus on self as opposed to focus on the outside.
And I think people like that. Physically, you'll see people like that in the gym. You'll see how they got big arms, big chests, little bitty legs, because they focus on what other people can see, because that covers up insecurities within them in their minds. It's the same.
My legs wouldn't grow, bro. Come on, man. They wouldn't grow. I tried.
Are you talking about you, Coach?
Yeah.
So he ain't trying to make them grow.
I tried, man. I tried.
You petty for that.
Up here looking like you standing a frog up or
Hey
something.
man, I'm just
You
saying.
say-
They wouldn't grow. I tried. No,
No,
but
but
you're right. I'm
and
sorry.
that's
Go
how
ahead.
it is with people mentally, where they will focus on things that they can look attractive to other people and ignore the things that are detrimental to them, the things that are insecurities within them. They gonna ignore that because nobody's focused on that. They focus on my chest, my arms. They
Right.
focus on me. I'm able to talk. I'm able to speak, but I'm not really able to live right.
Yeah, I think it's something. I know somebody said something earlier in the chat about the army made us vain. I think it's something to be said about wanting to want to get something out of your effort. So like for me, like I also want to have to be, I guess, aesthetically pleasing when I look in the mirror as well. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to look good because like look, I work hard. Like I want to see the benefits of my hard work. Like when I look in the mirror, like I don't want to just work out every single day and then just get the internal benefits from eating healthy and eating a good diet. Like I want to work out and see the physical benefits of it too. So that's just me. You know what I mean? And I personally don't think there's anything wrong with it. I know sometimes, you know, people will look at athletes or people who may have muscles and be, oh, it's all they do is lift weights. But you guys know, you guys have been in the gym and have been on workouts and routines and different things like that throughout your life. And sometimes it does come with a stereotype. Like I said earlier, like if you are in shape in the military, you probably gonna get some preferential treatment sometimes, So although I know it's so important to work on your body for the the mental and the internal benefits of it, I think is also okay to want to look good on the outside and have a payoff from all your hard work. So
Shoot, I agree with you because as a soldier, I wanted to look like a
a
soldier. I know
soldier,
yeah,
absolutely.
because we've all
yeah.
seen them, as I said, fluffy soldiers. And Edgar
Hmm.
Fuentes, he knows I had this soldier. He was past fluffy, but we were going to the desert. So he was like, no, nah, don't give him to me. I'm like, don't give me because I was, had all
Fluffy.
the medics and nobody wanted this dude because when you don't necessarily you pass the part, nobody necessarily trusts that you gonna be able to physically get them out of a jam
Hmm.
in that realm. And that's like if you see a fluffy cop, you like, okay, I can just run from him. All you do is eat donuts, stereotypes and stuff
See,
like
everybody laughing because everybody on this panel has said that.
that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to figure out why we keep using the word fluffy.
Because people
Like,
get sensitive when you call them fat, man.
Cause
so
yeah.
what is the extra stuff that they have on them? Is it fluffy?
Adipose
Right.
tissue.
And I am
Yeah,
look,
it's
I
fluff.
am not trying to trigger anybody. I'm not
It's
trying to
fluff.
trigger anybody.
It's
You know what I
adipose
mean?
tissue.
But they used to get mad at me because I was called soldiers fat. But I'm like, it ain't me. Like if you look at the worksheet, if we look at the worksheet that we use, it's called the body what worksheet, the
Fat.
body fat worksheet. We are checking your body fat percentage. Like I'm not. I understand that we need to keep it PG for people. At the same time, like a spade is a spade.
I
Hey
say
man,
fat from now on.
listen,
No,
listen,
you can
listen.
say
I'm
fluffy, but
sorry.
I'm going to say fat.
We literally just had a debate over the word fluffy and fat. By the way, I'm just putting that out there.
Because
Listen,
we started the show with
Ah,
definitions.
we did, absolutely. I
oh,
wanna, I wanna
So,
kind of touch on
but
EJ's
That was
I
point.
will say that
amazing.
I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just cracking jokes up here. So
Yes, you are. We know it, brother. Hey, I want to kind of touch on EJ's point because I think he's absolutely right. Like, I think you can see change if you analyze your behaviors and pay attention. So this is kind of like, I think Chris, you made the point that you go to the gym and you can see some of the gains, and then people start validating, the change in your physical makeup based upon the work that you do in the gym. But it's a lot harder to see the validation or somebody else to respond to it. I really agree with what he's saying. Like the evidence, and this is one of my phrases, right? The evidence of your belief is found in your behavior. So when you look at how you behave in certain situations, that validates your belief system. So if you want to know how much faith you really have, look at how you respond in certain situations. Look at how you respond to adversity. I believe, and by all means, you guys can tell me I'm wrong. I believe that in your social networks, they will start to see the change and differences in your behaviors as well. Your behavior is a reflection of strengthening your belief. So when you see a person's behavior, you will get to the point of saying, oh, well, this person has making some changes. See, they're responding differently than what they did last year or 2 years ago or whatever. Um, and I think sometimes we can have those conversations. And we're going to get into that here shortly when we start talking responsibility versus accountability. But I think EJ is correct. We can get to the point of understanding the results of some of the hard work that we're doing mentally based upon the way that we respond to certain adversity. Shout out again, EJ, man. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Edgar Fuentes, I mean, this guy just be dropping nuggets, man. That's why we love him. He said, in order to be a warrior, you need to live the warrior way. Absolutely. And that's part of the reason why the Army had the body fat composition worksheet, right? So, we try to keep our body fat down to a minimum so that, just in case adversity set in, we can go rescue people, pull them out of vehicles and all kind of things of that nature. Let me see. Uh, you're being chastised, brother. Uncle Junior being chastised, bro.
Man, listen.
I'm joking, man.
Listen.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Hey, it's all good. Hey,
Hey,
and
man,
I'm
it's
not
all in fun.
then
And
not
that was
gonna be
Jerome that called her
disrespectful.
fluffy.
Who's
Yeah,
that?
whatever you want to call
Jerome
it,
called her fluffy.
you can. It's
Jerome
still the
on
same.
Oh, yeah. From the Martin Lawrence show. Yeah. Um, again, my 2 cents on the gym. I don't go to the gym to look good. I go to the gym to look good at 2 a.m. in the park parking lot of 7-Eleven in order to protect myself and my family. Great point.
Yeah, you can do
Great
both.
point.
Hey,
That's part of that's put.
hey,
So again, that's part of some of the weight that we carry as men because we're supposed to provide and protect. So some of the things that we think about is how can I protect my family? If I get into a physical altercation, can I protect them and all that other great stuff? So I'm glad you brought that
I
to the
run. I
table.
can outrun. I just outrun them.
What about your family,
You
bro?
know
You
how
gonna
to
leave them
run,
behind?
bruh. What about who?
Your family
Hey, hey,
better keep up, girl.
hey,
Well,
hey, hey! I ain't got to
that
be
girl
the
gonna
fastest
be
one. I got to be faster than the slowest person.
Oh my
hey.
god, man. Yeah, we gotta. Oh my goodness. I'm
Nah,
sorry. Let me get rid of that
I
person.
don't plan on being in situations like that.
I got you, man. I got
Oh
you.
man.
Yeah,
So Lisa says our health is momentarily. Our health is momentarily. I heard this question asked: if you had a choice between me giving you $1 million and you know you would die tomorrow, which would you choose? The response was, I choose life. This is when you learn the true value. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, that's it's. I think Mr. Gaddy touched on it. That guy. I think he touched on it in relation to, I think what you were describing, brother, was entitlement. A person who believes that they should get without actually putting forth the effort to receive the thing that they're requiring. And that kind of goes back to this whole point right here. The idea of giving a person something for nothing, and if you read Think and Grow Rich, you realize that never profits us. He go Edgar again. Listen, man, let me tell you something about Edgar Fuentes. This guy could have been on the Soldier of Fortune magazine. Like, I mean, just chisel. You know what I'm saying? When I was in the army, it was important to be ready to perform in combat. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Hold on. We got somebody. I got to go see who this is. That's the part that I hate about the gym when people are talking, when people are taking more pictures. Man, come on, man. That used to get on my nerves. I
I
used to
never
get
hate
called
that
Brian.
too.
that and talking in the gym because, like I said, when I came out the sauna, I was ready. So I was that cat. Like, hey, man, you finna use this? All right, excuse me, and I'll just go jump on it. So yeah,
ain't
I'm
got nothing
glad
to
you.
talk about.
Yeah, exactly,
You didn't talk about. We're
exactly.
in the lab. We're trying to get busy.
Yeah,
We're trying to be
absolutely.
talking.
Speaking of the lab,
You know
this
you've
is.
been
Hey,
you PCS and went to the gym and saw somebody you didn't think you was gonna see again.
Outside, man. Let's
Hey.
let's go outside. Take it outside. Take it outside.
get us.
All right, moving forward, right? Because you guys are on it, man. Consistent and adequate rest. So ideally, we should get 8 hours of rest per night. I don't think I've ever done that, by the way. I'm just being honest. Because when you put yourself through that adversity, when you start working out on a consistent basis, whether you're talking physical or mental or a combination of both, which we should be doing, by the way, you need to rest. Your mind needs to reboot. You need to rest. Your body's going to go through a cycle of healing itself, especially when you start exercising. Because again, like we said, that 20 minutes of gaining, achieving, and maintaining target heart rate is going to be painful in the beginning. So you need the necessary level of rest. However, I will also say rest compared to working out or rest compared to mental rest is also important. I made the notion previously that I had to remove myself out of certain situations. I think it's important that at a certain point in time every day we need to remove ourselves from the noise, right? We need to reduce our noise floor so that we can actually achieve the rest. So, gentlemen, what are your thoughts on consistent and adequate rest?
I'm gonna jump right on it right now. Give me this grenade. Um, I I get enough rest for me. And I think it does vary a little bit from person to person. I think for the masses, yes, 8 hours is a good number to start with. However, for me, I'm a 10 to 4:30 guy. So I go to bed at 10 and I'm up at 4:30. I work out. I don't need 8, 10 hours of rest. If I get 8 hours of sleep, I'm gonna be groggy, I'm gonna be too sleepy, too tired. It don't work for me. So at least for me, I think, like I said, for the average person, there's a good baseline to start out. 8, those hours are good um rest. So I'll just leave it at that.
Uh, I, I'm gonna help you on that grenade real quick, and then try to see if we can abort mission. Because so along with rest, though, right? Uh, I do agree. 8 hours is, nationally agreed that that's a target, you know, amount of sleep. 8 hours. But I can't remember where I saw this book or who wrote it. I don't know if I got it at the house, but I think it was called "What Type of Sleep Are You Getting?" And it talks about what you do before you go to sleep, what kind of environment you set when you sleep affects the quality of your sleep.
Hmm.
And if I find that book, I'm alibi so that this way I don't leave it out there, so that I can share it. But it pretty much talked about, try to meditate in a quiet space before you get into bed, because you setting because your mind if your mind is busy before you lay down, it'll be harder to get to sleep. Most people lay down at that at the start of that 8 hour mark of when they
Hmm.
plan to get up.
Right.
You know, so so it's now I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of them folks that I grew up in a loud environment, gunshots outside my windows in Harlem. you know, I gotta sleep with my TV on. I can't if it's pitch black, I get nervous and I just sit up and look at the dark. Right. I I get nervous. I can't do it. Right. But the book also says in that situation to try to meditate for 5 to 10 minutes, then lay down.
Right.
Ha- Having tried it, still sleep with the TV on. But that's what I'm gonna say. So
Man, I can't sleep with the TV on. I feel like I had to cut it off. I feel like if the TV is on at night, I'm not gonna hear somebody come through the house. Because if I hear
I
somebody
will.
come through the house, my brain is gonna think that it's just the TV. So TV off. That's just me.
I can hear every crack and settlement of the house while the TV's on. If
See,
mm-mm.
I, I don't know. When I was receiving some therapy, mental therapy, about my sleeping habits and everything, they told me, like, even I don't even have a TV in my room because when I would see the red light being off, I would cut it on, and then you'll hear da 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 da. So I'm cutting ESPN on, I'm cutting CNN on, I'm just looking at nothing, and next thing you know, I I I'm up till 3 o'clock in the morning. But if you do your research on this whole 8 hours thing, this whole 8 hours thing comes from when we were a farming nation. And when we were a farming nation, they didn't have lights and stuff that stayed on all night, a TV that stayed on all night. So it was time for you, when it was time to go to bed, you went to bed and you got up in the morning. And you had to be up before the sun came up and everything. Uh, your body will tell you when you need to go to sleep. Now, I think that you should try to get as much as you can, but I'm one that I don't care what's going on. I know I'm gonna hear the train running down the tracks at 4:30 in the morning every morning. It's noon. It's going every morning. I'm gonna get up. So that's 4:30. Now, am I going to bed at 7 o'clock? Ain't gonna happen because I'm still doing everything. I try to get there before midnight though, because I'm not trying to just continue to burn the candle at both ends.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think I'll start off by saying this. I don't think I've ever, I mean ever, gotten 8 hours of sleep. I think I average someplace around 5 hours, to be honest with you. Um, but when I wake up, I'm ready. Like I'm a morning person. Like give me about a cup of coffee, and once I get that cup of coffee in me, I am wired for sound. Um, but what I've found is that eventually there's going to come a day and your body's going to say, sit down. And it does. And when I sit down, brother, I am going to take nap after nap after nap. And so what I've started doing in my older age, just remember I'm not quite as old as that guy right there. In my older age, what I started doing is I started embracing the idea of taking a nap during the day. And you know what? I'm okay with that now because I'm not so much as doing all the stuff I used to do, and I don't have that stigma in my head that said naps in the middle of the day are bad. No, if I can get a nap in the middle of the day, I'm gonna get a nap in the middle of the day. There's nothing wrong with that. So I think that kind of helps, when it comes down to the 8 hours of rest. Because I would tell you, like Roland said, I'm not fixed on the 8 hours, right? This is a concept that was created years ago, but I don't see it as being a bad concept. So if you can get 8 hours, get 8 hours. I just can't do it. And I've become learned to have become a functional sleep deprived individual. No, I'm joking. Not sleep deprived, but I've just learned to function with 5, 6 hours of sleep. And but in conjunction with that, I like the fact that these young men talked about bringing meditation to the idea, because you should meditate before you pray. Before you pray, you should meditate before you go to sleep, right? Um, same, right? You should meditate before you go to sleep. You should get to the point to where you can relax your body from a heightened sense of existence. Like you should be able to take the world and put it on the shelf and then just relax and get into a place of serenity so that you can get to the point of drifting off to sleep. I think it was somebody brought up Dr. Yep, here it is. So Lisa brought up Dr. Caroline Leaf. Again, if you don't know who Dr. Caroline Leaf is, again, I stand behind like a lot of the stuff that she put out there because I think she's just awesome. I got a chance to meet her at a conference, the John Maxwell conference, and she is a neuroscientist that actually puts out a lot of information. And she was absolutely right. Sometimes in our mind, we can create the weight of sleep to where it becomes like some sort of anxiety. And then we go to sleep thinking, say, I'm about to go to sleep, and then you can't go to sleep. And everything that goes on, like Tawama said, you can hear the house creak. You hear everything that goes on. You know what I'm saying? Somebody drops a fork 10 rooms away, and it's like, man, that's loud. Who's in the kitchen? Just stuff like that. And it's just simply because you're still at a heightened sense of awareness because you're consciously thinking about it. So we got to get to the point to where we can slow ourselves down to a meditative state so we can drift off to sleep. And I think meditation is the other side of the meditation is the other side where it gets to the point where you got sleep, but then you got meditation. You should be able to meditate during the day as well. This is what I mean when I start talking about metacognition, right? Think about something that you want to do, something that you're experiencing. Sit alone for at least 10, 15 minutes and think about that thing. No TV, no noise, no radio, no nothing. Spend 15 minutes thinking about what you're thinking about, and you're going to come up with some thoughts, some ideas, and things that will actually help you to improve, whatever it is you're working on. So the mind is so powerful, and the conscious mind is listening. Playing the television creates so many sleep and health issues. Turn that TV. Man, y'all getting chastised tonight. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah.
Keeping the train moving because you guys are just doing awesome. The last talking point, real quick, responsibility versus accountability. How does that help me to lose weight?
All right.
I think they
I
go
jump
hand in
up
hand.
100%.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. You got to be responsible enough to take care of your body because you're the only one that's going to take care of your body. And you have to be accountable for your body because you're the only one in your body. That includes mind, soul, all of mind, soul, body, all of that. You can't have, yeah, I don't think you can have one without the other when it comes to this.
Okay.
You got to have your accountability, I think, before you understand where your responsibility lets in, right? Uh, and because that's the first thing is to say, I need to make change. I need to make move. You know, we're talking on the other side of weight, not just on the physical. A thing for me was I had to get to a place to where I was no longer a victim to my circumstance, right? And I had to look at my relationships and my situations as in what can I do? Where is my responsibility to my brother, to my sister, to my girlfriend, to my wife? You know, instead of going in there saying, well, she needs to do this and she should have did this and she should have did that. And then when she don't meet these 101 demands, I'm ready to go. And she was such a bad person. But if I go in there and say, this is the level that I need or I expect of myself as a friend, brother, or husband going in, then when situations arise in that relationship, what I do now, even though sometimes I call Roland first and fuss so I can get it out, and he'll tell me to shut up and stop acting like baby, you know, and not no exact words, but he get me right. Uh, but then I have to go back and I have to say that I meet the requirements that I know were necessary to avoid that situation happening the way it did. And a lot of times the answer is no. And so now that I've taken accountability for what I could have done to keep the situation from going the way it did, I now take my responsibility and I go and try to fix it.
Well, for me, they mean the same thing. Accountability and responsibility. Uh, when you're looking at it, you have to see I am accountable for me. I am responsible for me. So if I want to look a certain way, I have to do certain things because I can't expect for someone, you can eat right all day, you can work out all day, and I can sit on the couch and watch you work out or watch you eat right, but it's not going to affect me one bit. But if I am responsible for self and I say, man, I want a certain body or I want a body type, or if I want a certain mentality, I got to be accountable and responsible enough to dig in that whatever I'm looking at and say, man, if I want it, I got to go get it. I got to fight that lazy person that's telling me to sit down, that's telling me not to do it, that's telling me it can wait, that's telling me I don't need to get up and like I'm like you, I'm a morning person. I get up and I'm on 10. Everybody else be I'm not like that. And I try to get away from people like that. I don't want you to dull my shine. Uh, but when it comes to being responsible and accountable, you got to look in the mirror and you say, what do you want? And what are you willing to do to get what you want? And if you're not willing to put it in, you don't want it.
I like it. Uncle Junior, what you got, bro?
Man, I'm actually kind of brain farting on this one. I've been going around in my brain trying to look at the differences and the similarities of it and stuff like that. A little a little bit of what I got. Let me see if I can fart something out. A little bit of what I a little bit of what I got was like, the responsibility. I don't know, just accountability just looks like it's a lot more personal and it's something that you have to really like. It's like a self check. You know what I mean? Like you have to look in the mirror to self check. Whereas responsibility is like this is kind of what my obligations are, and this is kind of what I'm supposed to be doing. But you can have your responsibility and not do it. You know what I mean? But like in order to have accountability, it's like you're forced to look at yourself. And even sometimes I don't even know, I'm wondering if you can even share responsibility. You know what I mean? So I don't think you can, but I don't know. I'm
Not
kind
on
of
self.
Not on self.
Not
Yeah,
on
that's what I was about
self.
to say.
Yeah.
not on,
Now
yeah,
you
not
dealing
on
with
self.
self.
Definitely not on self.
I think others can help hold you accountable, but not
Yes.
you can't share responsibility.
And
Yeah.
they are responsible for doing that. That's why I say they're
Yeah.
the same.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like I said, I was going around and around in my head and trying to look at definitions and different things, but I think for the most part, like I ain't gonna beat it up. So I think you guys did a great job of breaking them down and giving us clarity and understanding. So I appreciate it. That's for me.
Yeah. I just want to add, just this is my spin, and this is one of the ways I tend to keep them in order, and this is why I talk about social network. Like whoever's in your social circle, just kind of think of it in the idea of a chain of responsibility. So if I am sending you something, I sign a chain of responsibility, and then when you receive it, you sign it. So when you sign it, now you're responsible for this thing. You have relinquished me of the responsibility of that thing. If you ever been a year analysis NCO, you know what I'm talking about, right? So you are relinquishing the responsibility for me. Now you're accepting responsibility. Responsibility is always personal. It is my responsibility to actually take charge of my lifestyle. It is my responsibility to take charge of my mental health. It is my
Mhm.
responsibility to observe how I behave in public and then do like my brother mentioned previously and go back and observe my behavior and see where I can improve and be better. You guys, I am sharing that this is what I want to do. Therefore, you are being accountability partners. So you are you are actually being accountable, right? So that you can hold me responsible for what I say I want to do. So when we look at it from that perspective, that helps us to understand the circle that we keep. Why? Because I dare not choose a person to be an accountability partner if they're struggling with doing the thing that I'm trying to do. If you have not done it, then what makes me think that you're going to help me do it? I think that's the best way to look at it. So, I mean, just being transparent, because when it comes down to this thing here, I need as much help as I can possibly get. I ain't got it all figured out. So, trust me, the people that I surround myself with, they're good sounding boards. I call rolling the heartbeat. We got to call, we got a standing call every night before we get on this conversation here. Me and Roland on the phone, and we talking about 15, 20 minutes. He might be out there getting Sister Olympia something to eat, but that's all right. You know what I'm saying? We talking. And then later on during the week, we're going to talk again. That's just what we do because I have to surround myself with people that I trust that really has my best interest in heart and who are not afraid to say, hey, you're messing up. I think that's the thing that most people move away from. They don't want to put people in their social circle that would be blatantly honest with them. They want a person that is going to sugarcoat reality. That's not healthy.
Yeah.
I'm on this honest thing. You got to be honest with yourself and you got to be honest with the people that surround you, but give them permission to be honest with you as well. Because if you have a person in your circle that fears repercussion of honesty, then you need to take a strong hard look in the mirror. So I'm glad you shared. I'm glad you guys shared that with us because we've kind of gone a little long here. And so with that being said, let's kind of dive into this last piece, gentlemen. What is your advice for our listeners, teenagers, young men, parents, or the like?
Your body and your mind work together.
Mm,
You don't strive to have a healthy body and leave your mind lacking. Always look for improvement in both and not to what somebody else says it should look like or it should be like because you put undue pressure on yourself. I think you should continue to set goals, reach those goals and set new goals. That's physically, that's mentally, both. If you want to read a book, I know most people when they start reading, they get tired. That means you need to find interest in something. Don't just pick up a book and start reading anywhere in it, but find something that you're interested in and read a little here, read a little there, and then you develop a like for reading and maybe a love for reading, and then it'll become easier. The same with anything you put your mind to, go out to do it. Always look like I gotta fight that dude holding me down. I gotta fight this dude trying to keep me in the bed, trying to keep me from the gym, trying to keep me from walking, trying to keep me from eating better. And don't think that if you have a cupcake or a Twinkie or anything that you it's the world ain't falling just because you ate a doggone steak. So yeah.
I love it.
I would
I would
say, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
all right. I would say this. We talked about a couple different things with 20 minutes. So one of the things I believe in is taking the first hour of your day to do something that you need or want to do. So if you break that down into the 20s, take 20 minutes to do what someone said and work on your health and fitness. Take 20 minutes, like Roland said, and disconnect, right? And then take 20 minutes and, read. So now you have completed a whole hour in the morning before you even start your day. So
Mm-mm.
that's all I got.
I would say if you train the body, train the mind and the body to follow. So it all starts with what you put in your head. So my advice would be to start focusing on things that'll help you grow as opposed to things that are in the mainstream and that are entertaining, quote unquote. That's where it should start. And don't wait for something bad to happen for you to even want to get into this. Like Roland said earlier, he had a couple of heart attacks before he had to get healthy. Uh Tuame's a diabetic, and that took him to get healthy. I had cancer. It took that for me to get healthy. Don't wait for something bad to happen. Start now. Start young. Don't risk your health trying to be popular and trying to go along with the trends and keep up with the Joneses. Train your mind and your body to follow.
Whew, yeah, that's a lot. I would say this, because this is my motivation sometimes in life is I have to look at myself from two different aspects. There's a place that I want to be, and there's a place that I ought to be. And in order for me to begin to move forward in life, I need to be aiming ideally at both of those, but the one you can control is what you want to be. So first vision yourself being that, whether if you're big and you vision yourself small, see that. See that in the future. You know, what helps me, even though I've worked out a lot in my life, when I know that I'm slacking, I need to get back on it. Sometimes I have to make myself a plan, even though I know what a plan looks like here. I have to see it, physically see it, to know that it's executable. I don't know if that's a word. I see your face, Coach.
It's a word today.
To know that I can execute it, you know. But and then there's a place that you ought to be, and for me, I believe that that's a place that you can't designate. That's a place that only the Father can designate for you,
Mhm.
where you ought to be. And when He begins to move and shape you and direct you, you just have to be obedient to that process. And you have to understand, but we have to feed ourselves. We have to feed our knowledge. Where I want to be, I have to feed my knowledge. And when I realize where I ought to be and where I'm being moved to be, I have to begin to feed my knowledge. You know, I know my brother Roland said something about Sabi earlier, but I remember when I was in Hawaii and I saw uh, a video. Dr. Sabi said something about the problem most people have with diets or with what they're eating is that they don't eat things that are organic to where they're from. That He purposed you to be where you're from, and He's placed those things around you to sustain you. So we come here and we eat a European diet, and a lot of us that look like me, that look like rolling down the street, that look like Uncle Junior, we eat that European diet and we get clogged arteries, we get uh, high blood pressure, we get diabetes, we have strokes. A diet that don't affect nobody else, but it affects us. And that's the thing that made me start to research it as far as like, well, what should I be eating? When you find out that that diet that is written in that book is healthy for you, and the things it tell you not to eat that you decided it told you you can eat is what's killing you. But I leave that gym right there.
See, that's what happens when you got to follow preachers, man. I don't know how I'm gonna follow that. Listen, I'm gonna keep it simple, because these gentlemen, I mean, that's a blueprint for yourself. I am just going to say this: first and foremost, take an assessment of your own life. Right, choose one thing that you want to do in both arenas. What do you want to change about yourself physically? Do you want to walk more? Do you want to get to the place where you can run? Do you want to change your diet and eat healthy? And then be intentional about doing that. Practice that for 21 straight days until it become a habit. In fact, it takes longer than that, but just keep doing it. Right, don't look at diet as a temporary thing. Look at it as a lifestyle. Right, so choose one thing on the physical side and then put forth the effort to change it. It's going to be a little uncomfortable at first. Fight through it. Look at yourself from a psychological and emotional perspective. Right, what is the one thing you want to change about your behavior? Do you want to be more honest? Do you want to build better relationships? Do you want to, like, be a better communicator? Whatever that is. And then put forth the energy and effort to do that one thing consistently. Be intentional about doing that, and I think what you're going to find is that you would be more successful than you've given yourself to, giving yourself credit for. So that being said, again, thank you everybody on this panel for all the great and wonderful things you guys shared. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I want to make sure I don't miss the opportunity to say that. Shout out to everybody who's in the chat that's been adding value. We greatly appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. Edgar Fuentes, you are welcome on the show anytime. Just let us know when your schedules open up, sir, because we know you are very busy in the Fort Hood area. Thank you to everyone who's actually viewed the podcast and hadn't had the opportunity to put anything in the chats. That's okay. We still want to appreciate you anyway. Again, every Friday night, right here, 8 p.m., the Hearts of Men with these amazing gentlemen. And again, there's going to be one more amazing conversation starting next week. Until then, you guys have a great, wonderful evening and a better weekend.